Earlier today, I walked outside to go get some lunch, and I couldn't help but notice my magnolia tree was just in full bloom. There were petals all over the ground because the wind was blowing, but you could smell it. You could smell the fragrance of this tree. In addition to that, there were people around the neighborhood who were cutting grass, and you could smell the wild onion in the ground, and the wind was blowing a nice, just mild breeze in your way, and it was just like, how could the day get any better? How could the day not work and be good? With all that's happening right now, we have an environment that is very fear-based, is very just has us on the edge of our seats. We can't get together right now. We can't be in large groups. And every time you turn on the television, the number of positive cases has increased. And we're seeing, the amount of fatalities go up, although thankfully those two numbers are not the same. It just felt nice to walk outside and see that there is beauty all over the place, and that it felt nice to be outside in the sun. It wasn't cold, and you could smell the nature around you. You could hear kids playing in the yard. You can see people trying to continue to live a semi-normal life while still trying to be safe and follow the guidelines that have been given to us. That subtle little reminder that I've taken for granted for so long showed me that this situation, it's not good. The situation itself is not good, but I do not have to be a prisoner of this terrifying mindset that this is it. Everything's going wrong. People are dying, and there's nothing good happening. Well, yeah, there is. There are good things happening. It's just they're not taking center stage right now the way all this is. In fact, it's almost like we're having our own journey in the wilderness, like Christ did. Christ went into the Judean wilderness where there was little to no life, whether it was human life, whether it was plant life. There were wild animals that roamed out there, but probably not the sort you want to hang around with. He didn't walk outside for 40 days and smell a magnolia tree. He didn't smell and feel the cool breeze. No, he felt the hot sun, the dirt beneath his feet. And to top it all off, he hadn't eaten. He had not eaten. 40 days. By our calculation, that is a month with 10 extra days added on to it, where he did not eat. And all the while, he's being tempted directly by Satan. He's not wavering, though. He didn't act afraid. He did not act like he was defeated. He came and met Satan right on the battlefield. In Matthew chapter 4, beginning in verse 1, Matthew writes, Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, afterward he was hungry. Now when the tempter came to him, he said, If you are the Son of God, command that these stones become bread. But he answered and said, It is written, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. Then the devil took him up into the holy city, set him up on the pinnacle of the temple, and said to him, If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down. It is written, He shall give His angels charge over you, and in their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. Jesus said to him, It is written again, You shall not tempt the Lord your God. Again, the devil took him up on an exceedingly high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory. And he said to him, all these things I will give to you if you will fall down and worship me. Then Jesus said to him, away with you, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only you shall serve. Then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and ministered to him. Jesus had so much going against him from a mortal standpoint. His body hungered. 40 days his stomach was empty and craving food. We have food pains that we feel because we're not giving our stomach the food that it needs to survive. What does Satan do? His first temptation is to tempt Jesus with food. Here, command that this stone becomes bread. Jesus could do it, and it would happen. But instead, he doesn't even bother. He says, man will not live by bread alone, but by the words of God. God is his reliance. It's not food. So then he decides to take him up on the pinnacle of the temple, has him look out over all the city, and there's a gigantic high point between the ground and the pinnacle. So he says, well, now prove it to me by jumping. And Satan goes as far as to say, it's written. He's going to use the word of God. It's written that his angels will care for you and won't let you fall should you fall and hit a stone. But Jesus once again took the word of God properly and said, you know that you should not tempt God. Finally, he says, okay, look at this city. I will give it to you. I will give you the riches, the honor, the glory, the dominion. You won't have to go through all this mess. All you got to do is fall down and worship me. Jesus' response was, get away. Away with you, Satan. He had no interest in worshiping Satan, even though he was starving, he was tired, and his body would have been physically drained to the point of almost maybe death. The human body can only go so long without nutrients. And he's stuck in the wilderness. The hot sun, the dirt. There's no shade. Water supply is very little. But Jesus did this for 40 days and 40 nights. And he was able to withstand all of it. We can withstand what's going on right now. This can be a wilderness, but it is not the Judean wilderness. We have food in our cabinets. We have water in our spigots. We have vehicles to transport us. We still have the stores who are trying to supply our needs. It's all still there. We have these homes that warm us and cool us from the elements outside. And we don't have to isolate ourselves from people in that respect. Jesus was doing literal social distancing by heading out into the Judean wilderness for 40 days where there was little to no human contact at all. Our neighbors are still alive. They're still there. We can still talk to each other through these devices. As you go through this week, this might be your wilderness, but it's a wilderness that you know you can survive. And as Jesus points out, the one thing that you need above all else is to rely on God via relying on his very words that he inspired upon men to write. I've seen myself go through a wilderness here. What am I doing? I just got done working from home for the very first time, trying to do my typical sessions from a computer screen. It's very different. And in some ways, it's not as effective as it would be if I was in the office and had access to my stuff. But I do this for safety. But I'm still able to help my clients who think, many of whom think, this could be the worst thing to happen. They're trying to stay focused right now. I'm still able to help them do that and remind them, this is not the worst thing. This is something that you can move through and overcome. Just as Jesus did, he was a human, just like us. He wasn't going through something that we couldn't handle. He got through it and did it righteously. So let's journey through this wilderness that we've got righteously and not forget that we have other people in this wilderness with us. And those are the words from the couch.